Hi, my name is Somaya Rodriguez, and today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about a condition called cerebral palsy. I'm sure that we've all come across someone with some sort of condition or disability, whether it is cognitive or physical. I chose to talk about cerebral palsy because it is something that can be both. And even though it is becoming more known, some people still don't understand the complexity of this condition. And I am someone who lives with a mild case of cerebral palsy. So, based on research and a few personal experiences, I will be informing you about this topic in three different points. First, the definition and how it is diagnosed. Second, the different levels of severity and how it can affect different people. And third, the available treatments and intervention services that are provided for these patients. Cerebral palsy is something that everyone knows about generally, but still don't understand the different aspects of it. It is the most common disability in childhood that affects muscle tone, movement, and posture. The definition of cerebral palsy is the group of disorders that affects a person's ability to move, maintain balance, and posture. Cerebral means having to do with the brain, and palsy means weakness or problems using the muscles. And this can be diagnosed in many different series of tests or scans. According to an article from the cerebralpalsyguide.com, a website focused on a goal of educating families, raising awareness, and providing support to children, parents, and caregivers that are affected by this condition, last modified in November of 2023. It states, quote, 70% of cerebral palsy cases result from a brain injury that occurred before, during, or soon after birth. This quote This website also explains the statistics of how many people are affected in the US and globally. Quoting the Cerebral Palsy Alliance Research Foundation, or CPARF, it states around 1 million people of all ages have cerebral palsy in the US, and the CPARF estimates that 18 million people of all ages have it globally. Also, another article published by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention website, or the CDC, last reviewed on October of 2023, states CP is caused by abnormal brain development or damage to the developing brain that affects a person's ability to control his or her muscles. Sorry, I have to slow down. There are quite a few ways that a doctor can determine if your child has CP. And if you are concerned about it, if your child is between the ages of 6 months and 3 years, you may not know because the symptoms present themselves differently in each case. After some developmental monitoring and screening that calls for medical evaluation from the doctor, they will be able to run series of tests such as brain scans like MRIs or CT scans. They may also do an electromyogram or EMG, where little needles are inserted into the muscles and nerves to check how they're working. My parents had me when I was very young, so they ignored the possibility that I would have to be evaluated because I lost oxygen to my brain while I was giving birth to. It wasn't until I was almost 2 years old that my grandmother noticed that the right side of my body was abnormal. I kept my right arm close to my chest, and I walked on my tippy toes on my right foot. And once I was taken to the doctor to see why, sure enough, I was diagnosed with a mild case of cerebral palsy. And as I continue to speak to you, I will explain why my case was considered mild. Cerebral palsy is complex in so many ways. There are 4 main types of cerebral palsy: spastic, dyskinetic, ataxic, and mixed. They are all connected in the sense that the movement and posture of the body are greatly affected, but there's a deeper explanation for each type. The levels of severity are also incredibly interesting because the severity depends on which part of the brain was affected and how much it was affected. The article from the cerebralpalsyguide.com also dives deep into the different types of cerebral palsy and their statistics taken from the CDC. It states, according to the CDC, 75 to 85% of the children with CP have spastic CP. This condition makes muscles stiff, resulting in awkward movements and impaired walking ability. Dyskinetic CP is usually associated with damage to parts of the brain called the cerebellum, resulting in developmental delays, involuntary muscle movements, and physical difficulties. Dyskinetic cerebral palsy is accounted for 15% of the cases of CP. Ataxic cerebral palsy causes a lack of coordination and a balance. It is the rarest type of CP, and ataxic CP is accounted for 6% of CP cases. Damage to different parts of the brain may cause children to develop a combination of 2 or more types of CP. Mixed CP is accounted for 15.4% of cases. The most common mixed type of CP is a combination of spastic and dyskinetic. In the same way, severity has a deeper explanation and can be classified based on what parts of the body are affected. Monoplegia, diplegia, hemiplegia, triplegia, quadriplegia, and double hemiplegia. I'm sure that the first half of these terms sound familiar, so we can kind of put 2 and 2 together of what it means. But the handy dandy cerebralpalsyguide.com explains each term in the best way possible. It states, monoplegia is a rare type of movement problem that occurs when only one arm or leg is affected. Diplegia affects 2 limbs, which most commonly are the legs. Children with diplegia may also have mild movement issues in the upper body. In many cases, diplegia is a result of premature birth that results in cerebral palsy. Hemiplegia affects one entire side of the body. The arm is generally more affected than the leg, and it is distinguished by a rigidly flexed wrist or elbow. Prenatal birth brain bleeding can lead to hemiplegia. Triplegia occurs when there are limbs that are when 3 limbs are affected. An example is when both legs and one arm cannot move freely. Quadriplegia occurs when all 4 limbs are affected. The legs are genuinely more impacted than the arms. Quadriplegia may cause limited control over facial muscles. Double hemiplegia occurs when all 4 limbs are affected, but one side is affected more than the other. I have a mild case of spastic hemiplegia because only one full side of my body is affected. From very young, I have always had difficulty walking, especially long distances, and it took me a long time to be able to keep my arm from moving towards my chest and keeping my movements in control to the best of my ability. Since cerebral palsy can be found in children so young, there are many options that you can choose from to be of support to them physically, mentally, and emotionally. While there is no cure for cerebral palsy, treatment can help improve the lives of those impacted significantly. The person with CP and their family, because believe it or not, everyone is affected. You see amazing results, especially if you do it early on in the child's life. According to the article published by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention website, or the CDC, it states, after a CP diagnosis is made, a team of health professionals works with the child and the family to develop a plan to help the child reach his or her full potential. Common treatments include medicines, surgery, braces, or physical, occupational, and speech therapy. No single treatment is the best one for all children with CP. Before deciding a treatment plan, it is important to talk to the child's doctor to understand all risks and benefits. As stated above, no single treatment is the best for all children, and I could not agree more. From the moment my parents put me in early childhood, I was assigned a physical therapist who would try different physical activities with me and try to get the muscles in my right arm and hand to loosen up. And it worked, but as I got older, physical therapy got harder, and I eventually found out that I needed surgery in my right leg to straighten the bones, so walking up and down stairs wasn't so difficult for me. After my surgery, I felt like physical therapy stopped working. It all depends on the child. Living with cerebral palsy is not easy. You are faced with many challenges in life, no matter if one case is more severe than the other. It can take a toll on you mentally, especially now that we live in a society that is driven by social media. We've gone over 3 important things dealing with CP: what it is and how it is diagnosed, the different levels of severity, and its effect on different people. And third, the available treatments and intervention service options for cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy is the most common disability that affects muscle tone, movement, and posture. General knowledge of something is great, but when you get to the root of it, it becomes something worth knowing. Thank you.